if you are told to write something about your culture, and you do a book report, when it's corrected, ask for it and take it home and read it again and show it to your family, because the story is beautiful. A person writing a book report of their own culture is not going to put down anything that's bad. They're going to put down what is good.
The Honourable Member for Sydney, Victoria.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to celebrate Heritage Day in Nova Scotia, where next week we'll honour the beautiful words and life of the late Mi'kmaq poet laureate Rita Joe. Rita Joe's work narrated the challenges of indigeneity through her lived experience, told through magnificent and heartfelt poetry. A survivor of the Indian residential school, Rita Joe began writing in the mid-70s and is well known for her poems, I Lost My Talk, where she asked readers to let me find my talk so I can teach you about me. Mr. Speaker, she wrote 7 books, including the Poems of Rita Joe and the Mi'kmaq Anthology. I was honored and inspired to live close by to Rita Joe, a treasured elder from the Eskasoni who showed that it was possible for a Mi'kmaq speaker to soar to great heights. In 1989, Rita Joe was inducted into the Order of Canada, and next week, her resilience will be celebrated as part of Heritage Day. Walali ek Rita, Megadale Multisnen, Yapchu.
If we're going to write anything, if we're going to write beautiful stuff about Native culture, it has to be us. We have to do that. And there's so many good writers in our community and other Native communities.
Hi, my name is Trina Tony, and Rita Joe meant a lot to me. She was an inspiration in my life in so many ways. And I wanted to make this video, but I couldn't decide what to say. I had too much to say, so I decided to write things down. And my words turned into a poem. And this is what I wrote. Rita Joe's poetry inspired me to do the same. She taught me that words can be used in beautiful ways. She used poetry to speak the truth, to open closed doors. When I finally got to meet and get to know her too, it was such a blessing. No words will do. She used her poetry to speak from her heart, and it still soars. When she passed, her words stayed with us. When doubts fill my soul, they help when I'm lost. She used her poetry in such beautiful ways. She gave us oars. So in our own canoes, with her in the lead, we are not savages, and I did not lose my speech. She used poetry to change our plight, no longer ignored.
My name is Georgina Doucette, and I reside in Eskasoni, and I'm a residential school survivor. And I've known Rita most of my married life, and she too was a survivor. And we had about the same thing happen, about the same stories that happened to each and every one of us at the school. But she was a great supporter of culture. She had a great understanding of who we were. And she expressed herself in her poetry, which meant a lot to us, people who went to residential school with her. And she was a big impression on children and community. She was an awesome woman. But I loved Rita because we had the same experiences, and our husbands look so much alike.
Grandma has always inspired me with her teachings. Her words will always stay with me. improvise to make the best of what you got. I learned that at a very young age. Ability, as long as you are able, you can do anything. And if you don't have anyone that believes in you, to believe in yourself. And the only way to get things done is to do them yourself. And never mind what people may think. Just to grab the bull by the horns and show them how it's done. To always be proud of our culture and our language, and to never forget where you come from. To always take pride in everything that you do, and to always speak your mind, even if your voice shakes.
Rita Joe was a true friend and mother combined. She was a gentle soul and generous spirit. Her gentle words were moving and made her poetry go further than one may think. She always tried to be herself. This is how her life unfolded, with honesty and care. And I'm proud to say she brought us up with love and compassion and the utmost respect. She was very humble and respectful lady. She taught us to love everyone and was proud of our culture and educated schools and even educators about who we are. I am proud to say she was an iconic poet which we love dearly, but even prouder to be able to call her my mother and my children's grandmother.
There. Hi. Quay, Jeloisi, Danica, Francis Roach. These are two of my sons, Sawyer and Bear. Can you say hi?
Bye.
Okay. For me, one of the things that I find so inspiring about Rita Joe is the fact that despite all of the many hardships that she faced in her life, she remained incredibly positive and gentle and kind. And, you know, in her autobiography, she says that when she wrote Song of Escasoni, she was at war, but it was a gentle war. And I think that that's really inspiring. And yeah, also, just a second, also the fact that she was a mother and, you know, she accomplished so much throughout her life. And I think that that's really inspirational, especially for someone like myself, who obviously has a lot going on. I guess.
Rita Joe impacted a lot of us by writing I Lost My Talk. I Lost My Talk was very impacted through like her whole country and through us, because if she didn't talk or say anything, this probably might not have happened. Nobody would talk about her right now if she didn't talk about herself. That's how it really impacted a lot of us.
Alright, I admired how she was able to find her culture, able to find her talk, and she helped others by making that poem.
Okay, so the government constantly oppressed the residential schools and just try to let people not talk about it. I admire Rita Joe because when she started talking, it opened up lots of opportunities and other people started talking about it, because everybody wanted to forget about residential schools. They didn't want to talk about it because they had such bad PTSD. But when Rita Joe started talking about it, people started to think about and realize that the residential schools were really bad, and everyone started to think and learn about their cultures from elders.
Glamsit, my name is Mercedes Peters. I'm from Glooscap, and this is what Rita Joe means to me. When I was probably 17, I want to say, I spent a lot of time in university classes that were talking about not just Mi'kmaq, but Indigenous people in general, and what they were saying didn't really reflect what I knew to be true from family growing up and, you know, what I know as a Mi'kmaq person. And around that time, Idle No More had started. And so there's a lot of pride in Indigenous cultures and things like that in the news, but there was also a lot of racist conversations happening in front of me in classes. And I remember being so angry and not having anywhere to put it because I didn't have words to describe what was going on. The discrepancy between the horrific racist stuff they were saying and what I knew to be true about the realities that we were living and all of that fun stuff. And so that actually kind of pushed me to do the work that I do and like study the history that I study. And it wasn't long after that that I started like listening to like Rita Joe interviews and reading her stuff. And even that famous poem of hers that everyone cites, the I Lost My Talk, the very end of it, where she talks about like, where she says like, let me find my talk so I can show you who I am. Like, it's very, it was written like 30 years before I had come across it, and it captured an experience, I think, that like she was living, and then a generation and a half later I was too, and it just captured that kind of like, and you felt this kind of kinship with her as you were trying to figure out or like find your talk so that you could tell other people like about you. She's the reason, and reading her words is the reason that I could eventually put words to what I was doing. Since then, I've had a lot of time to like read letters that she wrote and read little essays that she penned, or like letters to other people. She's really, really funny. Like, these are like really like Mi'kmaq letters, because like I read a lot of stuff from other Indigenous writers, and like these are like super, super Mi'kmaq, like very specifically. But she talked a lot about the work that she was doing and like feeling lonely, and it's like across generations. It's like she was like describing like what I had been going through and the work that I was doing, and then the joy that you felt when you connected with other Olno when you were doing the work that you were doing. And literally, I can do the history stuff that I do and teach people what I teach because of what she did and the struggles that she went through. And because she wrote about them all the time in many, many different ways and talked about it, there was a lot that I could relate to her on. Like, being in a university, I'm like the first one in like my immediate family to actually go, and so I couldn't really talk to people there about what I was experiencing, and like I could read her words and be like, oh, okay, I'm not alone. And so yeah, she talks about writing so that, you know, other generations can, you know, see the good in our people and writing for people in her community. And it's very much true. And, you know, if she were here today, I think she would be proud of the legacy that she has, because so many of us can do what we do because of what she did.
Margaret Johnson Deluisi, Budler Clary, not John Duncan, Agnes Johnson, and Kid Frankie Joe, first cousin of Rita. Uncle Snapka Rita Joe. Mubega Janeweg, Biscudas Gubnunjak poem. Deluidum up a dying breed. Gerugin Molonige. Nespo Gerudloid on Mijuadis, Jejul the whole to Jay Murjig, Edliganamas Ultijig. Giscognige, Gisganamas Ultijig, Nige Rita Joe, Donald Marshall. Garuni Niganamas Yanek, Modenagumna della Mo go away. Garunige will at Louisigan poem, a dying breed. The call came, not totally unexpected, but shocking just the same. Plenty of time to do all that had to be done, but unfinished just the same. A warrior for her people, fighting for a cause, but gentle all the same. Pen and paper are her bows and arrows, but weapons all the same. Modest and humble and quiet in her ways, but famous all the same. Awards and recognition for all that she has done, but dignified all the same. Grandmother to grandmother, she will not curtsy, but respected all the same. A victim of disease and government policy, but survived all the same. A wife and mother, a grandmother and widow, but God-loving all the same. The song is over, though the poem incomplete, but he called her all the same. Namsit.
Hi everyone, my name is Gordon Smith and I'm speaking to you from the traditional territories of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples, where I work at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario. I'm honored to contribute this brief recollection as we celebrate Rita Joe this Heritage Day 2023. I first met Rita Joe in the summer of 1991. She was sitting in front of her craft shop near her home. I had been doing some research on fiddling traditions in Mi'kma'ki with Lee Cremo and Wilfred Prosper. And Lee's daughter, Elizabeth, mentioned to me that Rita was looking for someone to write musical notation of some of her songs. Rita showed me around her craft shop and shared her thoughts about her poetry as words and music. She loaned me a cassette of her singing her recent Oka song, which at her request I transcribed to musical notation and returned to her in the next couple of days. This led to more song transcriptions and what became an opportunity to get to know Rita, and a relationship that extended until her passing in 2007, a relationship for which I'm truly grateful. My research into music, culture, and meaning in Mi'kmaq worlds in Eskasoni has included conversations, interviews, and collaborations on different topics, ranging from funeral practices to the creative worlds of social media and Indigenous reconciliation. My current work is focused on the impact of Rita's iconic poem, I Lost My Talk, and the rich creative expressions that have been inspired by these 15 lines. The theme of language and culture loss in this poem lead the speaker and the listener forward to themes of hope and reconciliation, which, as all who knew Rita can appreciate, were fundamental to every aspect of her life. Her legacy of the positive, as she often called it, is in so many incredible ways what we remember and celebrate this Heritage Day. As a settler visitor to Eskasoni and to Rita's world, I continue to be inspired by knowing Rita Joe. Her words are ever close to me, words such as, quote, "What I would like to ask now is that you look at my people without the negative image, and listen to our voices, our wampum, our stone writings, our words. Analyze if you wish, but listen."
Gwe Deluisi Trina, Winnipeg's Glooscap First Nation, and I worked for APTN for a very long time. One of the favorite stories, hands down, that I ever covered was the Rita Joe celebration in Eskasoni a few years ago. I'll just never forget hearing her poem, I Lost My Talk, put to music as this symphony played on stage to this packed arena with community members, and her family was there, residential school survivors were there, Mi'kmaq leaders, and it was just this powerful, beautiful, emotional moment. And Gulliland Johnson came out at the end and sang "We Shall Remain" in her beautiful voice, and I thought, yeah, we're still here. And I think that's really the legacy of Rita Joe, is that young performers and young artists in Mi'kma'ki can see that their words and their work have value. Rita Joe articulated the way she saw the world in a way that allowed other people to see through an all new perspective. And that's still her words today, when you read them, are as meaningful and powerful as when she wrote them. And so I hope that if Rita Joe can see us today, that she sees the reclamation of language and culture that's happening in Mi'kma'ki in 2023. But I think we have a lot to thank her for. So, Walalan, Rita Joe, Walalan.
Hello, everybody. My name is George Paul, and I just want to thank everybody that played a big part in this video that we all created for Rita Joe. I felt like I had to say some words about Rita Joe and what she meant to me. To me, Rita Joe will always be an elder that I always looked up to, and I always, if I needed, some information or some historical stuff, she was always one of the people I would go to. Today, I find I've covered so much stuff on Rita Joe, from from Ottawa to I Lost My Talk, to bringing home I Lost My Talk. I find I've been so busy with all the great things that have happened because of Rita Joe. So I am forever grateful for all the blessings that she has given our community. And that's how I feel about Rita Joe. Thank you. Lalio.
Short is the story which happened long ago in the town of Bethlehem, the land of the Lord. When his time came to be born as you and me, there was no room for him to be born as you and me. Then his beautiful mother, longing to rest, Joseph, her spouse, prepared a place to rest. Then on the earth and in the sky, the time stood still, the time stood still. And then we heard a baby cry, a baby cry, a baby cry. And then we heard a baby cry, a baby cry.